Check, check. Okay. Everybody ready? I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's everybody stand up and let's say Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, welcome everybody. Let's do the roll call, starting here.
Audrey Lynn, Hurston James.
Hi, Megan Levine.
Ann Markoulis.
Angela Ramo.
Maria Venuto.
Leah Leone.
Maureen Jimenez.
Okay, does anybody have questions about the minutes? Can I get a motion on the minutes? Okay, Megan and Angela, are there questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes? Okay, that's. Oh, yeah, we were down 2 people, so if you were not here, you can abstain. Otherwise, you can put your hand up. 5 and 2, yes, correct. Okay, let me move it closer. Okay, so now we have committee reports. Audit is first.
Okay, so the audit committee met with the internal auditors on March 6th before the last Board of Ed meeting to go over the agreed upon procedures that they did on purchasing and the risk assessment. During that time, the audit committee asked questions, the auditors answered the questions, and now I am awaiting the final copy of that report. Once we have the final copy of actually 2 reports, we will have them approved on a board agenda, and then after that, the correction plan for each one of those reports will have to be done, and then those corrective action plans also have to be approved by the Board of Ed and then submitted to Office of State Controller and SED. You will be meeting with the external auditors. I believe it's the last, right before Memorial Day, I believe. They're coming in the 2 days before that. So, but before they come in May, I think you're going to have a meeting with the external auditor, and that probably will be Zoom, because he's just going to go over the procedures that they follow to close the books for the district.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
Policy committee?
So Policy Committee is scheduled to meet again on March 25th, and we'll have a more detailed update for the April 3rd Board of Ed meeting. What I will say for Policy Committee, just as a follow-up, the most recent policy that was adopted, the Workplace Violence Prevention Program, Policy 8130.2, that policy outlines, because it is a new policy and a new plan that's required by all districts as per Department of Labor, we conducted the risk evaluation that was required and stated in the policy with the AERs. And now it's going to be the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan that will be shared with all staff, and then training that will be required, so that way we're meeting the May due date and the compliance date with the May due date. So that's just an update. And then on March 25th, the agenda is going to be continuing to look at instructional policies that are suggested by NYSBA, as well as Department of Labor policies, which will be under the personnel section policy.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, facilities report for you.
Okay, so we'll start with Daisy School, the multipurpose room at Daisy, additional cameras were installed there. At Landing School, a tree in the construction zone was removed by an outside contractor. The middle school cameras, wires were installed by the our maintenance crew for 6 additional cameras. Cameras were installed by an outside contractor. And at the 1910 building, the space is being renovated. in the lower level of the 1910 building, where we had the flooding. So that's being done. We're hoping to be done with that area by or during spring break. And then let's go up to the high school. A lot happening in the high school. The lockers, they have been programmed, and from what I understand, students and staff are using lockers. It was a little bit of a learning curve, but I think everyone is getting used to them. The press box at the field, our maintenance crew installed new flooring in the press box. And tennis courts, they have been working around the clock on those tennis courts. I could watch them from my office window, and they are making great progress on the tennis courts. During the construction of the tennis courts, we realized that we needed to put in some electrical conduits in case we wanted in the future to put a scoreboard up for something, and also to put additional lighting in the parking lot where the tennis courts are. And then yesterday at the high school, we had the ribbon cutting for athletic field.
Hey,
Was-
don't take away my thunder here.
Oh, wait, no, which was spectacular, and I can't say enough about the field. It looks wonderful. Remember, in this budget, we had budgeted for software, new software for the cameras, all our security cameras. That has been, I think, installed in all but one or two of our buildings. It's phenomenal. The pictures now that we see from the cameras, we can actually read license plates of cars coming in and out. So that is all has all been done. Also, throughout the district, the installation of our new security doors. The high school is complete. I'm not 100% sure I think they're in the middle school now, right? They're in the middle school now. Where they'll go after that, I'm not sure, but they are making progress with the doors, the new security doors in all the classrooms and offices throughout the district. So there's a lot going on throughout the district. Continue working on the extensions at Daisy and Landing. That is also going on. If you could see, almost like you could see the elevator part of Daisy. It's kind of cool. And we will continue now that the weather is breaking. We are in spring now, so it doesn't feel like it. But, so they will, again, just keep on working on all these different projects throughout the district.
Thanks, Victoria. Okay, now for the superintendent's report.
Okay, we're going to first speak about some wonderful things that have been happening in the district. And yes, our amazing business official beat me to the punch. But yesterday we had one of the most wonderful events that I have been a part of in the 11 years that I've been here. And I think others will join me as saying something very similar, if not the same. We have long awaited a turf field. I know that back in 2017, our soccer team went to playoffs, and one of the days they had a playoff game, and the field was so wet from inclement weather from days before. And our home team wore white and came off the field brown, any kind of, any color of mud. But we did win. Yesterday, and from the moment I woke up, I got texts and emails from people in the community congratulating the Glen Cove schools, congratulating us on this achievement. Not only do we have a beautiful new field, a brand new scoreboard, but most important, a culture and an atmosphere of elation that I haven't seen in many, many years. It was really something, and I have to say, the children, the students themselves, are so very, very happy and supportive, and they are so grateful. And so, again, I'm going to thank the community for supporting us in this bond. I can go through a list of people and for different reasons. Thank you for their support. I'm not going to do that because I might forget somebody. But I do want to say this. We had a wonderful ceremony. And then after the ceremony, we unfortunately didn't get to watch. Some of us had a work session. But the boys lacrosse team went running onto the field, and they won in double overtime. Not one overtime, 2 overtimes. It was nail-biting, as I heard. The coach was actually texting me and the athletic director, and that was wonderful. And I'm going to ask our coordinator for technology to show some of those pictures. And there's a reason I'm doing this. If we could just, I could beg your patience for a moment. Could you do the other one first? Wait, could you do the other one first? Okay. These were all of us coming together for the official ribbon cutting. We actually had the boys lacrosse team join us, and the girls were in the stands, the girls lacrosse team. They came over with their coaches, and they were part of the celebration, the picture. But we can't walk away from events like this without picturing the wonderful band, the marching band that was behind us, leading us in the Star-Spangled Banner, and just joyful music throughout. So, there we go. Okay. I just sent these pictures to her. All right, stop right there. So, so yesterday, the sunshine, the wind was not really all that difficult to deal with, and the boys won in overtime. I just got a text from our athletic director. The girls' first game was today on the field, and we won again, and a rainbow came out. Thank you. I just think this is fantastic. I think everybody's spirits are high, and whether we win or lose, I know that they're playing with all their heart, but it's been a great way to commemorate this official start of our history on a turf field. Okay. Thank you, Anna. I know I gave you my pictures. They just text them over to me. Thank you. Please go on to our website. There will be a full story about yesterday's event and pictures that have been taken throughout the period of time. There was a lot of enthusiasm from different people in the community, and I cannot step away without saying that the Chamber of Commerce also wanted to be there and to present something. So, Ms. Mayries, can I have you come up to the podium, please? I said to her, let's do it while people are paying attention today. So, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, that field is just so beautiful, and not only does it have the yard markings on it, and we have the new scoreboard, and we have new band uniforms, new bleachers, everything is so beautiful out there. And last week, when my son was down, Jesse, he was crowned on that field, and a lacrosse player, he was so jelly. He said, now they got that field, I wish I could play on that. So, it brings us up, it elevates us, our whole community to have that, because we're really something, we are
Well, we were always somebody. I'm going to have to interrupt you on that. But I will tell you that we will have a community day on May 4th, and I hope everyone comes out, watches the games that are going to be played on the field, and again, helps celebrate the first part of many new facilities across our district. So I'm going to,
We look so professional now, you can't get around that.
No.
And it's a personal thing to the chamber and to me as a Glen Cove alumnus, and I played field hockey on a field that existed before this one. And the Chamber of Commerce wishes to present this to Glen Cove High School and the Glen Cove City School District. It's a beautiful plaque that says, on the occasion of the grand opening celebration of the new athletic fields at Glen Cove High School, and the Chamber wishes you success on future endeavors to revitalize the Glen Cove schools. We truly admire your support and dedication to our students and community, and Glen Cove Chamber is part of that support. We buy flags, we give scholarships, this is personal to us, so we're very excited along with you. We share the joy, and go Big Red!
thank you. I will personally give this over to the high school principal and the athletic director as soon as we see them. All right. After the ribbon cutting, a number of us, our architect was on hand to watch the ribbon cutting, and so was our director of facilities, as well as many of the administrators and some teachers, coaches, and then some board members, the director of facilities, our construction manager, and our architect went over to what will be a recreational area for instruction, our tennis courts, basketball courts, handball courts. The blacktop has been laid on the tennis courts, or where the tennis courts will be. We have to wait 3 weeks, I found out, for the oils to rise through. Once that's done, they will paint the courts and they'll be ready to play. We will also be putting a fence around that area because we do not want anyone coming into that area while instruction is going on, and that will be part of the PE department's facility during the day. So very exciting there as well. And I'm looking forward to another ribbon cutting quite soon. Okay? Okay. And now, part of the superintendent's report, I'm going to go backwards on the agenda, if you don't mind, but we are going to have, actually, I'm going to introduce Dr. Doshner, who will introduce the coordinator for ELA.
Thank you, Dr. Rihanna. Tonight we will be hearing from our district coordinator, Ms. Kristen Schaefer. She is our ELA coordinator, K through 12, and she will be presenting on our K through 12 literacy curriculum. She will be sharing all of the hard work that the teachers have been doing in collaboration with our literacy coaches, and really giving you a glimpse into the classrooms and the work that she has been coordinating to put in place so that our students can best be prepared for everything that lies ahead of them as they continue on with their education and go on into their future careers. Ms. Kristen Schaefer, if you would please come up.
Thank you, Dr. Doshner. Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening to share with you some highlights into and from our K-12 literacy curriculum. I hope that this presentation will not only provide you with a deeper understanding of how we are developing our students into skilled readers and writers, but also showcase the tremendous efforts our dedicated teachers have taken this year as we have made shifts to further align our curriculum and practices with the New York State standards and the research around the science of reading. As part of the Next Generation New York State Learning Standards, New York State has outlined the lifelong practices of readers and writers. These practices are developed throughout K-12 experiences and inform our curriculum, units, and lessons. As you can see, these practices include reading often and widely, persevering through challenging writing tasks, and reading and writing for multiple purposes, including for learning and pleasure, just to name a few. To provide further context, I'd like to share a few key research ideas that also inform our curriculum and the shifts we have made in order to implement a responsive literacy curriculum. As we think about the process for learning to read, as well as the research behind it, this infographic here, Scarborough's Reading Rope, is one that the reading experts, including science of reading researchers, lean on heavily to explain the many intertwined facets of reading. Reading is not just phonics. Researchers acknowledge that phonics are important, but must be balanced with the acquisition of meaning. The reading rope consists of upper and lower strands. The word recognition strands, phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition of familiar words work together as the reader becomes accurate, fluent, and increasingly automatic with repetition and practice. Concurrently, the language comprehension strands, background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge reinforce one another and then weave together with the word recognition strands to produce a skilled reader. This does not happen overnight. It requires instruction and practice over time. Scarborough's Reading Rope is just the beginning. In 2021, researchers Nell Duke and Kelly Cartwright extended the rope, pointing out that the research that is clearest and strongest points to the importance of teaching kids to think as they read, to comprehend. This model is called the active view of reading. Duke's model includes active self-regulation, which is another word for what is sometimes called executive functioning. Readers need to notice what the text is asking them to do, and they need to monitor their comprehension of the text, so they give themselves jobs as readers, saying to themselves, now you need to reread, and now you need to ask and answer questions. She explored the cognitive processes essential for reading and added those to her model. Reading is not a natural process, and the neural pathways in our brains are formed between 3 different parts of the brain as we learn the ways that print, speech, and language connect. These pathways are developed through explicit instruction that is assessment-based and provides opportunities for orthographic mapping and automatic word recognition. So as we continue to think about these research practices that inform our reading instruction, I also want to share the Big 6 that were recently released from the New York State Education Department as part of their literacy briefs written by Harvard researcher Dr. Nani Lasso. Originally from the National Reading Panel, which identified 5 key concepts at the core of every effective reading instruction program: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, aka the 5 pillars, New York State has included these as well as adding oral language. These are the focus or Big 6 skills and competencies that are necessary to develop skilled readers and are essential components of our literacy curriculum. Furthermore, the NYSEG literacy briefs outline high-impact practices that inform our instruction. As we explore our curriculum, I encourage you to keep these in mind and see how they are represented in our work, from the multiple opportunities for students to engage in text-based discussions and writing opportunities to collaborative culminating projects and celebrations. Now we will dive a bit deeper into our K-2 literacy curriculum to further understand the program and how we're using a research-based approach to teach students to read and write. Research has shown that young readers and writers need phonics and phonemic awareness, direct instruction to support comprehension and writing, interpretation and critical thinking, and time to read and write. Specifically, any primary language arts program should include explicit instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, word recognition and decoding, comprehension, fluency and critical thinking, oral language development, vocabulary, academic discourse, and writing. This year, we have implemented revised units of study in reading and writing that are further aligned to the science of reading and current research, ensuring that our program reflects all of these necessary components. In our reading curriculum, we have a responsive literacy approach that provides opportunities for skills to be introduced, developed, and deepened both across the year in a grade as well as year to year. Each reading unit is aligned to New York State standards and includes lessons that support phonics transfer to help kids decode unknown words. Students are taught to apply what they know about letters, sounds, and spelling patterns to decode with accuracy and efficiency. Reading units provide opportunities for students to engage with high-interest texts, from old favorites and high-interest nonfiction in kindergarten to series book clubs and nonfiction text sets in second grade. Throughout our units, students also engage with decodable texts, providing opportunities to apply phonics skills in context. We have also shifted our assessment practices to ensure that we have a wide range of assessments, enabling us to provide differentiated instruction to meet students' needs. Our assessments are aligned with our reading units of study and our phonics scope and sequence to ensure that students receive the differentiated instruction to meet their needs to develop as proficient readers. During our reading workshop, our teachers provide instruction to the whole class with a short 10-minute mini lesson, teaching a grade level skill of the unit, and then teaching students in small groups while students engage in partner and independent reading. Here is a video of kindergarten students reading in partnerships, and also some photos of students reading independently and with partners in first grade and in clubs in second grade. Another component of our literacy curriculum is our writing workshop. Each writing unit, aligned to New York State standards, provides opportunities for students to write across a wide range of genres and includes sessions that support phonics transfer, emphasizing spelling strategies, and drawing on students' phonics knowledge to spell with accuracy and efficiency. From small moment stories that tell a mini personal narrative to how-to books, reviews, and research projects on insects, students are writing in a wide variety of genres across each of the primary years. This work is also supported by assessments. Students write an on-demand piece at the start of each unit, and teachers use that writing to inform their instruction, including the identification of skills and strategies for small group instruction, as well as writing conferences. Following a similar structure to reading workshop, writing workshop begins with a mini lesson where the teacher models the grade level skills of the unit and provides opportunities for shared writing, allowing students to see a model of the skill embedded in the writing genre. Students, as writers, then write independently using supports of charts and tools from our district-wide blue writing folders, as well as conference with teachers and/or receive small group instruction. Writing units often conclude with students publishing their work, and depending on the unit, this can include adding books to their own classroom library, recording a podcast or video, or having a writing share with a peer or another grade level class. Here we can see part of a mini lesson in a kindergarten classroom where a student is adding to the shared class text on how to make a bagel as part of the shared experience at the beginning of the how-to unit. writing pieces from a recent kindergarten narrative writing unit in which students wrote their own story based on a true story in their own lives. On this slide, you can also see images from a prior second grade writing celebration in which second graders read their writing to kindergartners, two classrooms coming together to celebrate writing. Here are two first grade students sharing their writing from a recent topic books unit. In this unit, students wrote books on a topic that they knew a lot about, creating chapters for each subtopic of their writing. When the class finished the unit, they added these books to their classroom library, just like published authors. Across K-2, students engage in carefully sequenced progression of explicit and joyful phonics lessons, starting with alphabet knowledge and then moving to decoding and encoding multisyllabic words to morphology. Students are taught explicit phonics strategies, including a combination of practice in both isolation and in context. As I mentioned, in connection to our reading units, the assessments for phonics are tied to our reading units and provide teachers with information as to where students are in the reading progression in order to best differentiate to meet their needs. For example, for students who are working on strengthening their letter sound knowledge, our assessments provide a specific picture of not only how many letters and sounds a student has mastered, but the specific letters and sounds they are working on. As we move up the reading progression, our decoding assessments enable teachers to form small groups while also informing our reading intervention and ENL programs. Here is our phonics scope and sequence aligned with our K-2 reading curriculum as well as our assessments. One major component of the research from the science of reading is to ensure that there is a clear, explicit scope and sequence for phonics instruction. Furthermore, our assessments support clear tracking of student progress. We are regularly monitoring student progress to ensure they are solidifying these early decoding skills so that as they will be presented with more complex and challenging texts, they will have solid foundational skills that will enable them to be successful readers. This has also allowed us to strengthen our collaboration with our ENL teachers, and I have worked closely with our ENL coordinator to align ENL instruction, in particular in K-2 this year, to our reading and phonics scope and sequence to ensure all students are developing the foundational skills required to read. This year, in both pre-K and kindergarten, we are implementing Heggerty, which provides daily lessons in phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is the ability to notice, think about, and work with the individual sounds or phonemes in spoken words. This includes blending sounds into words, segmenting words into sounds, and deleting and playing with sounds in spoken words. Phonemic awareness is one of the big six and a key skill to being able to learn how to read. Here is a video of our pre-K students learning alongside their teacher and the Heggerty teacher, Mrs. Botari.
You will tell me just the two that rhyme. Listen. Which word rhymes with sense? That, tense. Which one? That is good. Sense, tense, rhyme. They have a rhyming part and which word rhymes with yarn? Barn, heat. Yes, barn. Yarn, barn. Sound you hear. Just the first sound. 5
One of the main ways that we are using our assessment data is to support teaching students in small groups, differentiated based on skill level and need. Research shows that small group instruction, when designed and implemented based on assessment data, is a highly effective and impactful instructional practice. This year, our K-2 literacy coach has provided extensive supports for teachers to implement small group instruction based on our assessment data, including materials and modeling. Here you can see the materials, including word cards and decodable text, align with our phonics scope and sequence, as well as the innovative drawer system she developed to organize these materials based on skill progressions. In addition, as part of our professional development and learning opportunities with advancing literacy at Teachers College, our K-2 staff developer has provided guidance, training, and modeling to support data-based small group instruction. Here is a video of snippets of small group instruction that shows how our teachers are leveraging the skill and strategy-based small group model of the Rally Try One, Try Two link to provide students with the practice of reading skills in both isolation and in context across K-2.
You've been working so hard on using all your superpowers to read words, and you've been doing an amazing job. I think that you're ready to start reading some longer, bigger words. Do you think you're ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Excellent. So we're going to be looking out for the suffix ES on these guys. Let's think about some tips for tackling longer words, like where you can spend right there, the suffix. And I want to see, yes, it's suffix. Would you say that you stop those words? Okay, I've been working super hard on these kinds of sounds. Who can remind us what kind of sounds of these that we've been working on? What are those called? What kind of sounds are these? What are these called? Go, and, right? To activate your slider power, and I want you to practice reading through the words, sliding through all of the sounds to see if you can read them. It's nice and smooth. Go ahead, let me hear you. Give you awesome word cards. You can work with a partner to try to read these words. That's it. You guys are in trouble with that one. Well, so that's going to us to slightly by nine. And then I'm saying, maybe you can try something from here, right? You're saying, oh, it's the cross sound. You're different way. No, you're saying short way. But you're trying the long way. Try that. I'm not too. I think it was that vowel that was tripping you over, right? And sometimes if we try the vowel in a different way, we get that word. Let's do that. We use our slider power. Oh, I love Matthew the way you found that blend on the blend board. Super thumbs up. So remember, we have some real words and we have some not real words, some nonsense words. And remember, they can trick you, so do a good job reading your words with your voices. So read it together. Read it together. Take a quick peek and think about what's happening in the story. And I want you to see if you notice any of those words that have a longer sounds in them. Can you point to the badger that's on the
What's the blend you found? Good. Can you read that word for us? What word is it? Slap. Oh, I wonder what the author did of this book. What did they do to the word slap?
They made it big and bold. Catherine is okay.
Go back. Look at the word very carefully.
All the books that you have, you're going to continue to use your slider power to slide through even those longer words, Christopher, to make sure that you get all those sounds in there, okay? All right.
Blend. So you and your partner can go back. And you're going to work together to read your book and go on a hunt. What are we hunting for again?
Blend.
We have also adjusted our reading intervention program, leveraging the results of our assessments to form skill-based groups to ensure that students are receiving targeted, skill-based instruction on a daily basis to provide intervention grounded in research-based practices. Previously, students entered and exited reading intervention only twice a year. We have shifted our practice to a cycles-based model in which we are providing differentiated instruction through a module-based approach, assessing students at the end of each skill-based module, and then meeting with the reading and classroom teachers to review progress, data, and regroup students. This approach has ensured that we are tracking student progress even more carefully than before, at a more granular level, triangulating multiple assessments, and designing and implementing instruction that meets the needs of students. We were also able to start reading services in kindergarten much earlier than in years prior. In previous years, with the 2 entry-exit times, kindergarten students were eligible for reading beginning in February. This year, as a result of our early data collection, we're able to service students in kindergarten at the start of November, allowing those students whose assessment data already showed that they needed additional support in their letter sound knowledge to receive reading services. These groups met 2 to 3 times per week and resulted in over half of those students exiting having met the winter assessment benchmark goal. Here are 2 of our K-2 reading teachers working with small groups of students on blends and digraphs and then inflected endings. I've shown just a few of the activities that they are using in their instructional practice to support students in the appropriate phonics principles.
There you go. That was a hard one too. Now we're gonna do adding sounds. Ready? I know you like this one. Ready? Start with and. Very good. Start with amp. And nice. Start with and.
As I continue and share highlights from our 3 to 5 literacy curriculum, I hope that you will see the ways in which the high-impact practices continue and build on the foundational skills we develop in K-2 and provide responsive, rich literacy experiences for our students to continue to grow as readers and writers. In 3 to 5, our teachers also leverage the reading workshop model to provide a responsive literacy curriculum that supports students in developing skills that are introduced, developed, and deepened across 3 to 5. Our students read a variety of texts from fiction to nonfiction, engage in book clubs across grades 3 to 5 throughout various units of study, and continue to strengthen their reading skills with a focus on reading longer texts, deepening their comprehension, and not only learning to read, but reading to learn. As in K-2 and in Reading Workshop, our Writing Workshop provides units of study aligned to New York State standards that engage students with a range of writing opportunities across genres. The on-demand writing assessments at the start of each writing unit provide teachers with a pre-assessment of students' writing to inform their instruction for both whole class as well as small group. Here are some third graders sharing writing from across the year.
My dad said, we're going to the movies and watching Elemental. I jumped up and down with joy. My dad was happy that I was happy. We're watching a movie? Yes, and we're going to a cinema. Yippee! I yelled. I was so thrilled. We drove to CVS to get some candy. We took some candy that night. The movie's going to be so cool, I thought. When we got there, I dashed right into the building. My dad said, slow down. I stopped. My dad walked into the building. Hurry up, Dad, I said. We got some popcorn. When the movie ended, I could not stop thinking about it. I bought some YouTube for the rest of the day. I went home, put on some PJs, and went to bed. Have you ever been bullied by someone? In the story, each time it's argued that Maya was lonely because she was bullied. In the beginning, Mrs. Albert said, say good morning to our new student, but most of us were silent. This shows how lonely she was and had no friend. In the middle of the story, it said, one day Maya came to school wearing a pretty dress and fancy shoes, but it looked like they didn't belong to another girl. Heather said, I have a new name for her, Never Knew. In other words, her dress at school was worn by another girl. In one part of the story that shows Maya is lonely is when Maya was by the fence by herself, jumping a rope. This means that she does not have any friends to play with. That's why I think in the story each time Miss Maya was lonely.
Here are some additional published writing pieces. Across K-2, students are writing within the narrative, informational, and opinion genres. In 3-5, building off of our writing in K-2, students continue writing in these genres, writing literary essays, newspaper articles, argumentative essays, and fictional stories across grades. As in K-2, in grades 3 to 5, we have been focusing on implementing responsive small group instruction to differentiate instruction and meet students' needs. Here is a small group in a 4th grade classroom during Writing Workshop in which you can see the intersection of reading and writing as students read a text to seek new information for their writing. This unit, which is an integrated reading and writing unit, also aligns with the social studies curriculum and provides students with an in-depth opportunity to read, research, and write about the American Revolution.
You guys have an awesome about okay? And you need to think about it. But I was kind of like seeing where you're writing that today. And I was like, you know what? I still think we need to add some more details. So I'm going to share something. And I want to boxes of books, correct? And then we did it that one time, and then we got more information from another book, and we just went on, correct? Could you take your books and kind of categorize them? Meaning, what were some of your chapters? Sort them. Sort them, good. How can we sort them together? Okay, so what's another way of talking about, we're talking about that? With starting. Okay, so could you change your boxes and now take this, right? So how to do this? Make another category and talk about what. So I want you to reread these notes. Is there a way you could categorize them into boxes of bullets, but into specific boxes of bullets? You're gonna see. So I see that you didn't, you kind of just took notes, right? So we want to organize our notes, because if we organize our notes, when we're doing more writing tasks or reading, kind of organize the thoughts. Okay? You guys read the next paragraph, and see if there's any new information, okay? It says Lafayette told Marcus, so I have a question for you. Did you guys learn anything new? I'm going to turn to talk to your partner. You're trying to talk to Mike about what you learned in research and all that. Okay, guys, we did pause. I want you to go to your desk, and I want you to continue this and add more to your notes, okay? Once we have those notes, then we can get to our work, okay? Off you go.
All of the work that I have shared so far is a collective effort. The work that I could not implement to this level of success without the support of our 2 literacy coaches. Their tireless efforts have been instrumental in supporting teachers in shifting their practice and ensuring that as a district we are implementing instruction that is standards aligned, research-based, and designed to meet the needs of our students to ensure they develop into skilled, lifelong readers and writers. Our coaches meet with each grade level before the beginning of each unit to unpack the units, ensuring that teachers have a broad overview of the key skills and understandings of the unit, as well as feel prepared to effectively teach the units. They also provide, as requested and needed, modeling of lessons, as well as small groups in teacher classrooms. In addition, they create and provide materials to support instruction, including the small group kits that I mentioned previously in K-2, classroom library redesigns to support unit implementation, as well as sharing and creating other instructional resources for teachers. Our coaches have also helped us in sharing our literacy shifts with families, including co-planning and organizing our first ever K-5 Family Literacy Night this past December, as well as engaging with families at parent-teacher conferences. This year, we have also implemented data-based coaching cycles beginning in January, in which our coaches are working with a specific grade level for approximately 6 weeks. These cycles begin with individual pre-cycle meetings with teachers, engaging in a conversation around student skills and goals based on assessment data and student progress. Collaboratively, the coach and the classroom teacher select groups of students, and then for the next 4 weeks, the coach and the classroom teacher instruct small groups during the scheduled time. The cycle ends with a reflective conversation and discussion of next steps for the students. This has not only been a way to impact student achievement, but also to support teachers in strengthening their practice as they implement data-informed, skill-based small group instruction. In addition to the support of our amazing literacy coaches, to support our K-5 teachers in understanding and implementing these shifts, we have continued our partnership with Advancing Literacy at Teachers College. Through this partnership, our teachers engage in job-embedded professional learning, including seeing demonstrations, trying out small groups and lab sites, and engaging in debrief conversations to continue to grow and develop their own practice. This year, I've also conducted monthly meetings with our K-5 AAS, ELA, and reading teachers to support their professional learning, including opportunities to read and discuss the latest research on reading instruction, plan and share best practices across grade levels, and build cohesion within our program. Through our regular in-service and superintendent's conference days, we have provided regular and ongoing opportunities for teachers to engage with one another, to understand the shifts, plan and implement small groups, and further build their toolkits. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to share some of the data we have been collecting and examining this year as we continue to strengthen a culture of data-driven instruction to support students' literacy success. I hope that this will give a window into how we are examining our data carefully, making strategic instructional decisions based on data, as well as the successes we are already seeing as a result of all of these collective efforts. In this graph, you can see the letter recognition for kindergarten and first grade from the fall and winter assessments. Kindergarten students were assessed at the beginning of the year, and students should be mastering naming 52 letters, lower and uppercase, by the winter benchmark. If students did not meet this benchmark, they are receiving small group instruction in the classroom and/or reading intervention based on the extent of their letter recognition deficits. We are seeing our kindergarten students knowing nearly the same number of letters that our first graders knew this fall. We can also see that our first graders have made significant progress in solidifying their letter recognition. Again, our small group instruction in the classroom, in reading and in ENL, is ensuring that students are receiving targeted instruction to close the skill gaps. By the winter, kindergarten students are expected to know 19 sounds, and as we can see, we have reached this benchmark. This has allowed our students to be able to begin blending sounds as they go into their consonant vowel consonant, or CVC unit, in which they begin to manipulate sounds to read words with the necessary skills. As you can see, we also have the growth of our first graders that they have made in solidifying their sound recognition through our responsive and strategic approach. From this graph of phonemic awareness, we are already seeing that our kindergarten students are outpacing where our first grade students began in September. This correlates to the implementation of Heggerty in grade K. We can also see the growth in first grade data as a result of our reading intervention programs and ENL supports, in which we have ensured that students are receiving practice in hearing and manipulating sounds to strengthen their phonemic awareness in service of learning how to read. These two graphs correlate two different literacy assessments for first grade students. At the beginning of first grade, students should be proficient with CVC words and all short vowels in isolation, a level 2. As we can see from the fall, students were able to do so with some of the short vowels, a level 1. However, we observed from the decodable running record assessment that students were able to do so less in context with some or all of the short vowels. In isolation, phonic decoding at a level 3 means that the student is proficient with blends. Our data now shows that the average proficiency in context, as well as evidenced by the decodable running record. We can see that we are growing the work both in isolation, assessed by the first grade phonic decoding, and in context, as seen in the decodable running record. This shows that not only are students developing their decoding skills as they practice reading words and applying their sound knowledge, but they are applying these skills while reading a text. We also see a closer relationship between the data for isolation and in context, demonstrating how the small group instruction that provides these opportunities is moving our data forward. Finally, this is an example of what we look like as we examine student progress over time. This is F&P data from our 5th graders, beginning from when they were in first grade. Please note that there was no testing for spring of 2020 due to COVID. However, we can see that we are closing the gap between the blue, our average, and the green, F&P on level, in particular this year. Dr. Doshner will provide a more in-depth presentation on our longitudinal data at an upcoming meeting, but I wanted to share some data points from our current program, as well as this example of how we continue to monitor programs and the impact on student achievement. Now I'll share some brief highlights from our secondary ELA instruction. In middle school, we continue our workshop model for instruction and engage our students in units of study aligned with New York State standards that continue to develop lifelong readers. In 6th grade, students have a period of instruction in both reading and writing, and then in 7th and 8th grade, students continue with a period of English class. Our curriculum continues to strengthen students' reading and writing skills. Here are some images of students in book clubs, discussing the development of characters, and engaging in close reading of texts. In addition to our daily instruction and standards-aligned units, our teachers strive to continue to develop students' love of reading and writing. For the 2nd year, we have our Book Buddies program, where middle school students meet with Daisy School students as book buddies. This collaboration between our 7th grade ELA teachers and the middle school and Daisy social workers train 7th grade students to be effective book buddies, and middle school students read with Daisy kindergarten students once a week for the duration of this program. We also have the 5th year right now of our Finley Middle School Poetry Contest, where students from across grades 6 to 8 can submit poems in a variety of categories all of which are published in an anthology in celebration of April's Poetry Month. Our high school curriculum offers a range of classes from English 9 to 12, comprehensive standards-aligned courses, to honors levels of each of these classes that provide more in-depth experiences with engaging literature and varied opportunities for writing across genres. We also offer AP English Language, Literature, and AP Capstone, Seminar and Research, where students have the opportunity to engage in rigorous study aligned with the College Board AP framework. We also have dual enrollment courses with LIU in 11th grade with College Honors 11 and in 12th grade with College Literature and Composition Honors. Furthermore, College Film Appreciation is one of our engaging electives offered to enrich students' opportunities to explore reading and writing while receiving college credit. Other electives include creative writing and children's literature. This year, we have made a concerted effort to provide opportunities for students to continue to develop their love of reading through the implementation of daily independent reading in each of our classes. Research supports that independent reading has the most significant impact on student success in reading. According to the researcher Richard Allington, the more one reads, the better one reads. The more one reads, the more knowledge of words and language one acquires. The more one reads, the more fluent one becomes as a reader. The more one reads, the easier it becomes to sustain the mental effort necessary to comprehend complex text. The more one reads, the more one learns about the people and happenings of our world. This increased volume of reading is essential. Here are a few examples of mindfulness journals that our students in our children's literature class created this past semester using Book Creator, showing how our electives provide real-world application, including these digitally published texts that were shared with our middle school and high school guidance counselors and social workers to share with students. Finally, I want to share the amazing efforts of our National English Honor Society, a group of students who are also aligned with our collective goals of developing students' literacy and sharing book love. This year, we hosted our second annual Glen Cove Community Book Fair, where NEHS students collected and gave away over 5,000 books for free. As a result of this event, students have created little libraries within each school building to provide free books year-round to students and families. These are coming soon. And we are currently in talks with the city of Glen Cove to have an official Little Free Library within the city at Morgan Memorial Park. We will be going on a site visit next week to explore the space and continue the planning and implementation process. Thank you again for the opportunity to share our K-12 literacy curriculum with you this evening. I hope this presentation provided you with a glimpse into how we are growing our students as readers and raters. Are there any questions?
Kristen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of information, and I'm sure that the board is going to need some time to also process some of that in advance. Are there any questions at this point? No? Go.
I'm just curious, a couple things. That blue folder that you mentioned, is that like K to 5, every kid has this, does it go with them, or it's just like for that school year?
So our alignment team is still deciding how we're gonna wrap up this year, but yes, every student has a blue folder. There are sheet protectors in the middle of the folder, and the teachers rotate out charts that students need to support their writing.
Do those ever go home?
Usually they stay in the classroom.
What was my other question? Oh, one of the videos, I think it was 3rd grade, had lots of adults in the room. Is that typical, where there's like 2 or 3 groups going on at the same time, and then I saw one person circulating? Is that typical, daily basis, or a few times a week?
Depends on the classroom. In that setting for 4th grade, that teacher also has a student teacher. And so there are a lot of adults in that room, but it's also to meet like the educational needs of the students.
Thank you. This was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Schaefer, thank you very much for this presentation. I really, really appreciate it. I just had a question. You mentioned that Daisy School has the book buddies from 6th grade, and they go into 2nd, correct?
It's 7th graders, and they're reading with kindergarten
Okay,
this year.
7th to kindergarten. What about Gribben? Does Gribben also get this opportunity as well?
We haven't started that program, but our Honor Society students met with me just before the start of PARP, and they're eager to start a Book Buddies program with Gribben as well. So we're in discussions about how we can incorporate that. Right now, the Book Buddies program at Daisy, the students are able to walk there from the middle school and actually
Understood.
go on their lunch period because it correlates with the time that kindergarten is free.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to thank you for the presentation. It was really thorough, and I liked seeing, like, holistically what's happening from K to 5. I have a question, and I don't know if you or Dr. Doshner could better explain it. If you could explain the difference between a reading intervention and AIS reading.
Sure.
Yeah.
So AIS Reading, which is a service that we provide, AIS ELA, excuse me, it's a service that we provide at 3 to 5. It is for students who are below grade level, but maybe don't need that urgent intervention of significantly below grade level. So in our RTI plan, we have the entry and exit criteria. So we use STAR scores and in 3 to 5 F&P levels as well for students who are going to enter and exit the program. So the goal of AIS ELA is to catch students up to where they need to be on grade level, right? And enter back into the classroom. The reading also does that, but reading is addressing some more significant deficits that students may be presenting with.
Okay, sorry. Well, actually, it's more just, I guess, like a comment. I loved seeing all the collaboration, not just like secondary to elementary, but just even within the classrooms, like the partnering and like the older, I forget what, it was like 5th grade to 3rd grade or 2nd to kindergarten, just the modeling and the collaboration between all the students, it's just nice to see. But I think it's really good for like reluctant readers to see their friends doing it and big kids doing it, and it's just like a nice, another new model of like reading, is rather than just everyone sitting all by themselves.
And that reminds me something that we started last year at Landing School is that students in our reading intervention program were then reading to pre-K students as book buddies.
Thank you.
I had a question about the charts, the phonemic awareness. What's the scale? I think you may have said it, but I missed it.
Sure. So phonemic awareness measures up to 5 phonemes, so being able to put 5 together, so that's the highest. In order to be a proficient reader and a skilled reader, you would have the ability to blend, segment, and manipulate 5 phonemes. Students who are just learning how to read are usually working on 2 phonemes. Think about at, right? And then they're working on something like cat, adding that C sound and then blending that together.
Can you talk a little bit about Heggerty? What is that? I've never seen this.
So
And what grade, is it just pre-K?
this year we're doing it in pre-K and kindergarten, and given that we haven't had a phonemic awareness program prior to this year, that's been streamlined. We're looking to expand it to 1st grade. It's a program that you can purchase just the spiral curriculum for, and it outlines, it's about an 8 to 10 minute activity. You saw some clips of what the students are doing to really practice hearing those sounds and then manipulating the sounds. To support our teachers this year, we purchased the videos that come along with it, so they are learning from Mrs. Botari. The kids love her, on the screen, and then doing it with the class.
It just seems really beneficial for kids who need that movement too. Like there's just they're not just sitting there, lots of movement. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have one more. I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough, and I liked the videos because it gave insight into the classroom. Not to be the heavy, but I do see like a disparity here with Gribben, and I was just curious what like the takeaway is with this, with the, the level being lower than Daisy, if you had any insight into that, or?
For the phonemic awareness?
Yes.
Right now, all I can say is that, It's something that we notice that our students, particularly those students who don't have a lot of oral language at home, are struggling with. I can't account yet for the difference from, why we're seeing the lower score at Gribben, but that is something that we are monitoring and adding again. We've even been doing more phonemic awareness in our reading small groups as well, even if it's not a part of it, based on the fact that we're seeing that need for students.
Okay, thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have questions before we proceed? Okay, we're done. I'm good.
Kristen, thank you so very much. We
you.
appreciate the level of detail that you provided, as well as those nice little clips, hearing our students actually do the work.
Thank you.
All right. And now, our favorite time of the evening. At this time of year, I'm introducing our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Victoria Galante, and the budget presentation. As she's walking to the podium, I'm going to say that this is your 11th budget in this school district. I won't ask how many in your career, but I thank you for your attention to detail, and I'm sure we will enjoy your presentation as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rihanna, and welcome, everyone. This will be the fourth budget workshop that we have presented to the community in regard to the 2024-25 budget. At the last board meeting, I indicated we would be talking about a few different things at this board meeting. One of them being our tax levy limit. So every year by law, each school district has to report to the Office of State Controller the tax levy for that particular school district. This is the formula summary of how we come down to that number. So in doing this calculation this year, we came out with a legal tax levy limit of a little over $78 million. That equated to a tax levy of 3.831%, which is pretty high. So the administration met with the board, we talked, and decided to reduce that tax levy limit, which is a legal levy limit. We would only have to have a simple majority for it to pass. We weren't piercing the cap, okay? So we decided to reduce it by, as you see, $800,000, which brought it down to the $77,336,931, which equates to a tax levy limit for the community of Glen Cove for the 2024-2025 school year of 2.768%. And that is what was reported to the Office of the State Controller before March 1st. In the next slide, it'll show you what that levy limit equates to in dollars. It's just over $2 million. And you can see, we do a history, so you can see that every year, from year to year, the increase in the tax levy has been around that 2 million mark, either a little short, a little bit more, and that's all within the tax levy, when the tax levy cap law came into effect. Now, this slide shows you the percentage that the community has been charged with each of these years, starting again in the 2012-2013 year when the tax cap law came into effect. The year we're in now, we had a tax levy of 2.52%, And as you can see, for the 24-25 school year, it will be 2.768%. Just for informational purposes, I had to take it out of the slide. Before the tax cap law came into effect, over an average of 5 years, the average tax levy for Glen Cove was 4%. So put that all in reality of what, you know, it is now, it's still under the 3%. Just for informational, for the community, I am in a quadrant of 14 school districts that come together once a month and share information with each other. Right now, 6 of those 14 districts, and 3 have not reported yet, are presenting their community with a tax levy of over 3%. It's just the way the formula is working out this year. Some of them because of a loss of state aid, a loss of pilots, a loss of whatever, the tax cap is coming out over 3%. And I think we're going to see a lot of that also throughout the rest of Nassau County and Suffolk County. So we also talked last month, or last board meeting, I should say, about our capital outlay projects that we were going to use. The $1 million that's in the budget has been in the budget for quite a few years now, and that money is usually used for projects that are on the verge of being emergency projects. So a few of these projects may look familiar, meaning the middle school and the high school nurses' restrooms and the high school library HVAC. They were in your 2020-2021 budget at that time. We presented that we were going to do these 3 projects. What happened during that time? COVID hit, and we had a lot of increases in materials and from what the budget had been, what these projects were budgeted for at that time. So we had to not do these projects. We put the money, the funds, back into fund balance, and the board decided that we would address it in a future year. So the 24-25 school year, we brought these 3 projects back because they really need to get done. Again, naturally now the budget for these projects are higher, because now we have $1 million in our capital outlay. In 2021, we only had $850,000. We're also able to address the middle school entry stairway that leads into the auditorium at the middle school in the horseshoe, to replace those stairs that are basically crumbling. So again, now we will be doing 4 projects. 2 restrooms, making them ADA accessible at the nurse's office in the middle school and the high school. And these are the approximate budget figures that we received from the architect in his speaking with some of his vendors as to what the cost these may be. The high school library, HVAC, again, very important, and we need to address that. And the middle school entry stair replacement. You add all this up, it comes to the $1 million, and we can proceed with these projects. The first 3 projects, almost immediately, if we get community approval, because we do have SED approval on these projects. So we don't have to wait for SED to give us approval. The next thing we would like to talk about, because I had said at the last board meeting, the voters will be presented with 3 propositions to vote on. Naturally, the first proposition will be the budget. This will be another one of the propositions. We have right now a capital reserve. In that capital reserve, we have been putting funds aside into that reserve. If you remember a few years ago, we asked the community if we could take out $7.5 million, and we started the extensions. We needed that money to add to the stimulus funds for those two extensions, and we started doing those projects. Once again, prices of things were higher than anticipated, so we felt that at that time, we could only do 2 of the 4 classrooms in each one of those extensions. So now we want to complete the extensions because we feel that 2 classrooms, and then what do we do? Wait a few years and then put in another 2 classrooms? That would be kind of not the correct way of doing this. We want to complete these extensions. So we're going to ask the community, we need voter approval, to use the $9 million that's in this reserve at this particular time. And with the $9 million, not only are we going to complete the Daisy and Landing extensions, meaning all the classrooms, all the bathrooms, all the furniture, and anything else that they need, we want to do site work. And this was not in the original proposal for the extensions. We want to do the site work at Daisy and Landing. We want to do new parking lots. We need additional parking areas. These extensions have taken away some of the parking in these 2 buildings. So we need to put additional parking. We need to address the drainage, because naturally, when you put in a parking lot, you have to have the proper drainage, or else we wind up with a problem like we had at Connolly. We want to put in new curbs and new stairs, sidewalks, any other site work that is needed in those areas. So they're done. Then, also with the $9 million, we want to take some of the money and we want to do the exterior of Thayer House. Thayer House, if anyone has come to Thayer House lately, it is beyond painting, it is beyond repairing. It really needs a whole exterior redo. It is the building that all your families come to register your children. This is the first impression they get of Glen Cove. So at their house, we're going to do exterior work, including the roofing, siding, shutters, gutters, leaders, exterior doors. We have need to scrape and paint the existing fire escape that's there. We're going to remove the existing exterior vestibule. If ever anyone comes to their house, you know that could be sort of dangerous the way it is because it's so small and the door comes out when you open the door from the inside. Because we want to make a new entrance which is wider so that we can install an ADA ramp. So we meet the requirements there for the Disability Act, and then we will put a canopy over the entranceway. So those are the areas that we would like the voters to approve us using the $9 million so we can get all of this work done. Remember, the money in this capital reserve is there already. Using this $9 million does not impact the voters at all. The money is there already. You have done your due diligence, the district, the board, and have saved this money from past budgets, put this away so that we can address some of these projects without asking the community to go out for a loan, a bond, or anything else. So that'll be another proposition that voters will need to vote on. Because to take the money out of a capital reserve, we need voter approval. The third proposition, or another proposition, because I'm not sure what order they'll be in, the other 2 propositions, we want to set up a new capital reserve. Because the capital reserve we have now, even though we take the money out, in aggregate, what we add, the 7.5, the 9, just leaves about another approximately $3 million that can be put into that reserve. So in order to have a reserve where in case the district has excess funds in excess of the $3 million and wants to put that into another reserve, we'd like to open up a new capital reserve. We're going to name it something else. It's going to be Facilities, Security, and Technology Improvement Program of 2024. So we added security and technology into this reserve because everything that we have done in security or what we do in technology in time will have to be replaced. The infrastructure has to be replaced. We were able to, in this budget for new camera software that all the buildings are going to get if they haven't gotten it already. But something like that could come out of that reserve because that was a lot of money to come out of the budget. So down the road, whatever is needed for facilities, it'll be the same thing if you need some kind of capital project for facilities and the money is here, you can take it out. Now, the requirements in this capital reserve would be that the maximum amount of the reserve can be up to $30 million, which is a little higher than the previous reserve. The term of the reserve will be 15 years. And the amount that you could put in at one time cannot exceed $8.5 million. And that can only come from surplus money that can be transferred into this reserve. So a little different than our first reserve. Remember, the first reserve was the first capital reserve that Glen Cove ever opened. It was for $20 million for 10 years and $5 million max each year. So this reserve, because we know now what we're going to do and how we're going to use it, we spoke to the lawyers and we decided that it would be a max of $30 million over a 15-year term, and we could put in not to exceed an amount of $8.5 million. So again, to open up this new capital reserve, we need voter approval. So where are we with the 24-25 budget? Right now, we do not have a balanced budget. This budget has been challenging for a few different reasons. So right now, we have a gap that we have to fill of about $1.9 million, meaning our appropriation, or what we would like to spend or need to spend in the 2024-25 school year, is outpacing our revenue that we're getting in. So for the revenue side, again, let's talk about reserves. I have always talked about reserves as something very, very important to have. And every year we use our workman's comp reserve, we use our tax cert reserve, and sometimes we use our unemployment reserves. So those reserves are already in our revenue budget. So even with those reserves, we have this gap. And where this gap is coming from is really coming from the revenue side. And it's due to three things, mainly. Number one, the past 3 years, we were getting our foundation aid because we were one of those districts that they were trying to make whole, or giving us 100% of foundation aid. So every year for the past 3 years, we've been getting 10, 12, 14% increases in foundation aid. If you remember last year, I told the community and the board that that was the last year that we would see an increase in foundation aid to that degree. And I did say at that time, we'd be lucky if we got 3%. And yes, we got like 2.8% increase, which equates to just about $1 million in foundation aid. So that's a little adjustment the district has to get used to again, because that will probably be what we will get every year. The other decrease in revenues is the loss of our RXR pilot. Every year since the RXR agreement was signed, we have gotten a pilot from them. District was notified in the beginning of this year that they will not pay the pilot for this year. So that's a loss of revenue. And then, going back to that first slide with our tax levy limit, we did reduce it by $800,000, which really, we reduced our revenue side of the budget by that $800,000 that we have to make up with. How are we going to make up with this gap? We are working, administration is working with the buildings. We're looking at staffing. We're looking at using more of our reserves. We have other reserves that we can use, but we can't depend on reserves fully to fill in this gap. Because if you do that, within another year or two, you will have no more reserves again. And then you will be back to the point of cutting maybe your 9-period day, cutting programs, and cutting staffing to a high degree. We don't want to go there. So we are looking closely at programs, at positions that maybe someone will be retiring, may not be needed to be filled, maybe staff that is not going to be invited back, things like that. Our HR person, Dr. Rihanna, is meeting with various, like I said, administrators, and we will fill that gap because next board meeting, April 3rd, we will need to present to the community a balanced budget. Because the following board meeting, the board will need to adopt the budget, because what happened this year, that April break falls on the day that we legally need to adopt the budget. So it has to be done before that April break, okay? So I have confidence that we will get this done in a way that won't impact programs, staffing, or things like that to a great degree. But yes, there may be some pain in what we have to do, but it has to be done and it has to be looked at. And we will present a balanced budget next board meeting. So for the next board meeting, we will be reviewing the 24-25 appropriation budget. I will take all the questions and answers from the Board of Ed. The board did meet last night, and we did discuss the budget. So they are aware of what we're facing and what needs to get done.
Victoria, thank you very much.
And you're welcome.
Questions from the board?
Thank you. I think you said it before, but I think it's important to reiterate, the capital reserve can't be used to offset the difference in the budget. It has to be
cannot.
used for capital projects.
Absolutely.
On the proposals relating to the capital reserves, so there's two things just to, first to explain, just for everybody who isn't necessarily aware, that the first capital reserve, you said it still has room for $3 million, but explaining like why that is not available anymore.
Well, you can put $3 million
I meant
or
after
whatever
the-
in there.
After the
But,
3 million.
If for some reason you come into more revenue that you would like to set aside for future capital projects that will be more than $3 million, it would be a good thing to have another reserve to put that money in. We fund a lot of our reserves every year, not a lot of money. You have to really look at your tax reserve. That's your other reserve that, you put quite a bit of money in. I guess that's the second largest reserve you use. Then you have your retirement reserves, and we do try to fund, we do try to take that excess balance and divide it up into all the reserves that we have. None of your reserves are over-reserved, but your capital reserve, the controller, the auditors want to see you put the money in for a reason, because in your mind, and we all have it, we want something done. We want a project done. So they want to see you put the money into that capital reserve and not let it sit there for 10 years or 20 years. They want you to use that money.
And then related to the new one, like the expiring in 15 years, expiring means at the 16th year, you can't put any more money in.
Right.
You can take out.
Right, so if you hit the 30 million first, let's say in 10 years you hit 30 million, that's it. If you don't hit the 30 million, let's say at 15 years, you only have 20 million in there, that's it. You would have to open up another reserve. Again, because they don't want you just to keep the money and pack the money away. They want you to use that money.
So the current reserve that we have, the capital reserve, has a max of 20 million,
Yes.
okay? Anytime you take money out of the reserve, it's subtracted from the 20 million.
Right.
So if we put money back in, you don't add that money to the reserve, to the 20 million. So again, you only have a cap of 20 million.
Yes.
Now we have about 3 million more to invest in that particular one. But again, as we look long-term, we want to be able to put the money in a place where we can use it to keep the upkeep of our facilities, our infrastructure, and it will avoid perhaps exorbitant bond requests in the future. Okay? Thank you.
I didn't realize that we already had SED approval on these three. I
Right.
completely forgot about
Because-
that.
Yes, because to go out to bid, before you go out to bid, you need SED approval. So SED gave us approval for these projects. But when we went out to bid, the prices came in a lot higher than the budget that we had. So we kept them on the books for a year, but then our auditor said, you really need to put the money back in reserve because you're never going to do those projects for that budget amount
Right.
that was there to begin with. So again, we couldn't just add to it because we need voter approval to do those projects and to do it within those budget figures.
So we need voter approval on this.
Yes, but it gets voted, your voter approval comes through the budget. When your
Okay.
voters
It's not a
approve the
separate
budget,
proposition.
it
Okay,
approves
so
those
that's-
projects.
That's what we were misunderstanding. And the
Yes.
other thing is there like an expiration on the SED approval, or it's just there?
No,
Okay.
we could still do the projects.
Okay.
We have verified that with the architect.
And these are plans from like 2020, which we're going to
2021.
stick with previous plans?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, in one of the restrooms, we already started, I think we put in new flooring or something. We did a little bit of work, through the budget, because it had to get done.
Yeah,
Now we'll do it the right way.
thank you.
Welcome.
Kind of for my own, just trying to get a bearing on, I know once 2020 and COVID hit, prices went through the roof. And we've seen it come down a little, but not,
Not really.
nothing really worth talking about.
Yes, no.
So the difference between the cost of it now, I know the difference between the cost of it now and what it would have been if we had been able to move forward in 2020 is nominal. I'm not expecting, but like around what? Like is it 2% less or you know what I mean? Just as a general.
Let's take the HVAC project, because I kind of know that in my head. We had budgeted at that time, let's say about $450,000, and it came in about $75,000 more than that budget, but that amount that we had for that project. We couldn't at that time take that $75,000 from the budget. It was too much to do it. So that's where we landed. So now, it's a little over $500,000. So it did go up about $25,000-$30,000. You know, that's. it is
But
what
we
it is.
also have to keep in mind that at that time, we had to get SED approval.
Right.
And SED did not have any engineers working in their
Well,
facilities
Right,
department.
because of
So
COVID, they
it-
were way behind,
right.
everything was way behind.
So it took an exorbitant amount of time to get the approval. By the time we got the approval and went out to bid, just the time period it took already resulted in increased costs.
It was approximately like 2 years later, year and a half later, and the prices were just, it wasn't there anymore.
The chaos across the board was just
Yes.
incredible. And it's just trying to get an idea of, comparatively
The
speaking.
only thing that has eased up that I see is not the pricing. Pricing is still high on everything. It's its supply chain. We're not waiting 4 months for something. We're only waiting 2 months. That's the only thing that has changed, okay? As far as pricing itself, it's still high. It's still high.
Yeah, even on smaller things,
Small,
even
anything.
for retail, for smaller
Anything.
things, like for myself, the supply chain thing, we
We,
just
uh,
waited forever, and
I'm not
that's
gonna say
the.
what building it is, but we had gotten a price to redo a parking lot at one of the buildings. I'm not even gonna say about a year and a half ago. And it was like under $800,000. We just asked them again for the pricing for that parking lot. It's over $1 million. So pricing, I don't see pricing going down. Supply chain, yes, we're getting the equipment faster than they were during COVID, but that's the only change I see.
Thank you.
All right. Victoria, again, thank you so much for the detail
Thank you.
and for being the watchman for our finances, fiscally responsible, and providing the board the information that's necessary for them to make the decisions necessary, keeping in mind the community as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Victoria.
And that is the superintendent's report tonight.
Okay, so moving on, our student board member is probably playing
Um,
lacrosse.
She did say this is a difficult time of year. Ava and I were talking the other day. She had a lacrosse game. She also had some studying to do, preparing for exams and so on. She did ask me to say, please beg the forgiveness.
She's forgiven for studying, yes, absolutely. Okay, and then public participation. So if anybody has any comments or questions about agenda items, you can come up to Ida, sign in with your name and address, and you can have 3 minutes to talk. I don't see any movement, so we'll move on to instructional report.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 7 on the instructional report, A, Committee on Special Education, and B, Committee on Preschool Special Education.
Can I get a motion? Maureen and Leah? Any comments? All in favor? Okay, I see 7 of us. Thank you.
Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, a motion is requested for the approval of Agenda Item 8, Business Affairs, A, Finance 1 and 2.
Can I get a motion? Megan and Ann, any questions? All in favor? Okay, 7 in favor.
Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, a motion is requested for the approval of Agenda Item Number 8, Business Affairs B, Operations 1 through 7.
Motion, Angela and Ann. Questions on these? Okay, all in favor? That's 7 in favor. Okay, and, wait, next is personnel.
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve agenda item 9A certified, numbers 1 through 10.
Can I get a motion? Lynn and Angela. Questions on these? No? All in favor? 7.
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve agenda item 9B classified, numbers 1 through 4.
Motion, Maureen and Leah. Comments or questions on these? All in favor? 7. Okay. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, do we have any new business? No? Okay. Any board comments? Does anybody want to share anything? Past or upcoming events? No? Okay. Oh, wait.
I'm excited to see Aladdin this weekend at the middle school. And I'm going to bring my daughter.
Sounds like a great recommendation. Okay, I can't think of anything, maybe all right, so public participation on any non-agenda items. If you would like to say anything, oh, you can come on up to the. I noticed that. I was sitting in that chair, it was wiggly. So just need to sign in, Suzanne, and you can.
Victoria, could you follow up on that, please? Is that the one that comes out? Yeah.
It's not that. Suzanne Anderson, 9 Cole Street. I also work as a monitor in the library here in the high school. I just want to say that thank you to the board. I know you're all here as volunteers. I know you give your time. I thank you for everything. I congratulate you on passing that bond that's moving us forward to be competitive for the future. Thank you for the field. The field is beautiful. But I come to work here every day in the high school, and I assure you it's not because of my paycheck. It's because I love coming here. And I don't need comments. I don't need an answer. I just have to get it off my chest that some of the projects, if you just walk down the hall, in my opinion, does it really look like we're moving forward into the future? Does it look like the school of the future? I know the lockers are high-end technology, but I've had kids today tell me that they lock their ID in it. You know, you get in a car and you can leave your fob in it, you can't lock the car door. Well, if they put their IDs in the locker, it locks. And so they need help doing that. I mean, the beautiful field, the high school field, I'm rambling. It's red, it's our school color. The lockers, they're not red, they're not our school color, they're beige. And the doors, they're wood grain. I mean, is that the future? Is wood grain really that? Was there some kind of a composite or something? Ms. Galante had mentioned that the door project is also done. Not all the doors have been done. So we have some new doors, we have some old doors. So when you walk down the hallway, you have to note that you look to the right, you see new. You look to the left, you see old. You have to pay attention to that. Maybe some money could have been held back from the lockers to put forth to make sure all the doors looked nice and cohesive and make the building look more presentable than it is. And the doors also, the windows. I don't know if there was anybody who was consulted about security or people who use them every day or what they needed or what they wanted. The windows, if you notice, not on these, on the classroom doors, the door handle is right under the window. If an intruder was coming, they just have to smash the glass and their hand goes right in and opens the door. If you had windows that were higher and square or on the other side, an intruder would have to spend more time trying to get through to get to that door. Now these doors here, I have the same ones in the library. You can see they have a dial. Now in the past, I had the same push, but I was always able to control whether or not the door locked. Now I have no ability to make sure the door stays locked because anybody can turn the dial to lock it or unlock it. My eyes are on 2 doors, but there are 2 doors behind my back. The students can unlock them at any time. and that's a concern for me. I keep tape over a piece of one, uh-oh. All right. What really brought me here today, though, is the main office. That just looks like the school's been vandalized. It breaks my heart to come in here every day and to see the main office look like that, and wood grain doors, and lockers that aren't red. Just please, in the future, I'm just concerned. When you get to the cafeteria and you get to the science wings, please, slow down. Take a look. Ask the people who use them every day. Go see other schools. I even Googled, once I saw some of these projects, I Googled schools of the future, and I see beautiful glass buildings, and we're boarding up windows here. It just didn't make any sense to me. I know you can't go back on some decisions that have already been made, but you can look moving forward. Science is a big deal. We've been waiting for this when I had children here. We couldn't pass a bond to get those science labs done. Please, take the time, use the teachers, consult, go to other buildings, ask the kids what they like, and the cafeteria as well. That's also a very big deal. And this is the next 50 years. Administrations will come and go. You are the board that got this bond passed. This is your legacy. This is what you're leaving behind. Walk down a hallway in this building and know that this is the future and you're setting us up for success. Thank you.
Suzanne, if I could comment in regard to your issues. Please understand that the bond is limited in its scope and priorities had to come into play. The doors in regard to that, classroom and office doors first, closets and areas that are not classrooms, that is something that, again, something that we would look at in the capital reserve for future. This priority was the locks and the doors, the safety in classrooms and offices first. In school buildings across our district, some classes had window panes on the side of the actual classrooms, and based on Homeland Security, when they came through the buildings years ago, they indicated that those cannot be glass any longer, including the office. And so we're looking at alternatives, but the safety portion of the bond was to ensure that the glass that secured people or classrooms would not be there any longer. If you recall, and I know it's been a while since you've been in the middle school, but the 6th grade wing there, that's a wall of windows right next to the classroom. And for many years, we've just made sure that things were behind it and that paper was put on. That is part of the glass that is being replaced with these wood panels. I understand it's a bit getting used to, but please understand the intent is the actual safety. In regard to the ID cards, we are asking and giving out lanyards for students to be wearing their ID cards. And I know that it's hard for some people, doesn't always match their outfits, and kids would rather have them in their pockets, but it's also an identifying feature so that we know that is a student in our building. And so I know I'm working with Mr. Hudson to make sure that not only do they have it on their person and then perhaps not put it in their locker, but actually wear it around their necks so that they are visible. And we ask staff to do the same. I'm sure Mr. Hudson had asked that of us. In regard to the visitations and going to other school districts, not only did the coordinators go with the architects for both the cafeteria and the science labs, but teachers were involved as well. So we went to visit other districts that had just recently renovated science labs, for example, and we learned from other people's mistakes in regard to the furnishings and in, for example, the cafeterias. They might look great, but they're too small for high school students in one school. That is the feedback we received. So please be assured that we are looking at what is currently being just built in other districts to get a better understanding of what we need to avoid as well as put into play when making decisions here. I know it's not done yet, far from being done, but we are moving in a pattern to get all the essentials put into play. And I'm sure that there will be districts coming to visit us to say, what did you miss that we could avoid in the future? But we're going to do our very best at this point.
Thank you. I just was wondering if, with the lockers, I know that the kids have to wear their IDs, but if there was just some mechanism that they cannot lock the locker if their ID's in it, just as a part. And the main office also, even moving forward with the other buildings, please don't board up a window. Put sheetrock over it. Make it a wall. It's not appealing to see a piece of wood in a panel.
Can I just say, it's not just a piece of wood, it's actually metal. It's a piece of bulletproof metal that looks like wood, but it's not just wood. Okay? That's security.
I don't
That's
think this can
security.
go back and forth. That's not the
But
purpose of
just
this.
for the eye, for the community eye, if there's just another movement, that may be a done deal. But if you have to do any other offices or anything like that, it really does look to the community like you've boarded up windows. It may be the high tech, it may be the safety reasons, but way to do it. Like put sheetrock under it or around it, or you just don't, putting wood in a glass panel just makes me feel like, we came in the morning, we thought that there was a big fight.
Miss
and there was
Suzanne,
vandalism.
I'm sorry, this can't go back
Yeah.
and forth this
That-
way.
no, you're
Well,
right.
please
I get it.
understand, but I'll be more than happy to have a
Just-
conversation
and
with you.
Please,
Come
include
visit.
our teachers, include our cafeteria staff. Those ladies work so
They
hard
work.
with no air conditioning. When you
Agree.
move forward, Board of Education, this is your legacy. This is what you're leaving behind.
Okay, thank you.
About the doors that haven't been replaced,
I'm sorry?
the doors, that, when we went on our building tour, didn't we say that the ones in the science wing were going to be done with
The science.
when the renovation is done,
Yeah.
starting over the
We're
summer?
going to be, right, even some of the ceilings that could have been done alongside the EPC project, the Energy Performance Project, we're gutting that whole area where the science rooms are, and so those things had not gotten done yet.
In terms of the office, I think we can look into possible
Yeah,
alternatives
but
too.
guys, I have to say, the priority is safety, and we will look at alternatives, but glass is not safe, and trying to find the bulletproof, we're looking into alternatives. Understood. But part of it is not looking in to see what's there. And some of it, if you're in the middle school, there are no windows, okay? If you go to Connolly School, those windows are in the back and they're covered. So again, we're looking at alternatives. I know it's been brought to our attention, but it's not always just pretty. It really needs to look at what alternatives we have in regard to safety. Okay.
I'm going to leave what's in my mind on the Janet Blatt, 31 McGrady Street. I'm going to leave the academic stuff to the next meeting. That's whirring around in my brain. The one thing I want to say is that I went to the ribbon cutting yesterday for two reasons. One, I wanted to see what the money the people of Glencoe voted for is being spent on in that one area. And also, because I've probably said this before, my father was one of New York City's greatest high school track coaches, winning teams, city championships for many, many years, Queens championships, national invitational races that his kids were invited to, that they went to in California, upstate New York, other states. My father's kids never had a track that was near on as nice, as superb as that high school track is. Not that he didn't ask, but the New York City Board of Ed wasn't giving. It's not that you need a great track to have a great team. It's just that if you can have it, it surely is nice. If my father was still alive, I would have driven him over so that he could see this. I'm sure he would have been thrilled with what the students who are track members and the students who play on the teams on the field have available to them. It's just superb. And the last thing I want to say is that I want to personally thank Victoria for her part in this entire thing on a daily basis, all the time. Not just the financial understanding, not just from before the bond ever became a real thing put before the people, but everything she has done from the very beginning, getting this bond up to a voting point where it was accepted. And since then, until all the projects are ended. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
It makes me feel very secure to know that we have someone of your caliber looking after our finances and making sure the projects that the money is being used for are being done right. It's just superb. Thank you.
She's blushing, Miss Blatt. And that doesn't happen often.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Also,
Thank
Ms.
you, Ms.
Blatt, and to the community that's listening, part of the renovations on the field is also redoing the track. There was drainage problems, and those problems have been taken care of. But as soon as it is over 45 degrees without rain for 5 or more days, I don't know how we're going to forecast this one.
Yeah,
The track itself will be painted, new lines and urethane will be placed on the track. So although we cut the ribbon to the field, that area, the track still has to undergo some renovation, and it's only due to the weather that it couldn't be done at this point in time. The boys are, the students are able to use the track for meets and for practice at this point in time. But as soon as we get 5 days, we're hoping over the spring break, those will be done. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't go back and forth.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Blatt. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? Maureen and Leah? I want to thank Glen Cove TV before we leave. Thank you very much for streaming and recording our show. All in favor of adjourning? That's 7. Good night.
Good night, everyone.